It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Safer USA, and Chuck's Gun Shop. Here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
And welcome to On Target Radio, Chicago's voice for the Second Amendment. I'm David Lombardo, your host, and our co-host Tim Dalan sitting across the desk. Say hello to your mom and dad, Tim.
Hello, Mom and Dad.
There you go. That's your big thing for the evening.
Listening in Montana.
Isn't it? That's pretty cool.
And my brother will listen to the recorded show tomorrow out of Okinawa,
and
Japan.
See, there we go. We just doubled our listening audience in one family. So we're really doing good tonight. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m. talking about shooting sports and personal protection, hunting, and all things Second Amendment. And you, the listener, has an opportunity to call in and talk to our guest. And, Tim, speaking of our guests,
again,
for the fifth week in a row, week number 5,
woohoo!
We would like to invite Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel to come into our studio, and we would like to discuss your views on gun control. Now, we respect his right, do we not? We respect his right
definitely.
to have that position.
Yeah.
But, we'd like to kind of chat a little bit about it.
We'd like to chat.
Yeah, that's all. And we'll be nice. We will play nice. We're not going to, blindside you or anything else. But speaking of Chicago.
Yes.
Violent crime is up.
Again.
And home invasions are up in Chicago. And, maybe this is me. If I'm laying in my bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's pitch black, I'm sound asleep, and somebody comes through my window, you know what? I'm going to revoke his birth certificate. I mean, that's basically what's going to happen.
I agree.
Do you agree with that? I certainly agree with that. And tonight we're going to discuss that and other subjects. Tonight, our topic is the use of lethal force in self-defense. And we have got 4 people on tonight that this is like a big deal for us. Very big deal.
It is. Tonight's a big show.
We do indeed. We're going to take questions at 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600, or you can go to Facebook, like our page on Target Radio, and ask a question there, and we'll answer it online. Let me tell you who we got.
Tell us who we have.
In the studio, we have Jeff Chudwin, recently retired as chief of police for the Village of Olympia Fields and was chosen as the 2009 Law Officer Trainer of the Year. He's a founding member and current president of the Illinois Tactical Officers Association. And Chudwin is a former assistant state's attorney. He was hired by Senator Petka when he was the Will County state's attorney. This is going to be a recurring theme all night. Everyone here but me has been hired by Senator Petka at one time or another.
Senator Petka probably knows you.
Oh, he does. Yeah. And Jeff has been a firearm use of force and emergency response trainer for more than 25 years. Sitting next to him is Jeff Tomczak, who was also hired by Senator Petka when he was Will County Assistant State's, and he was a Will County Assistant State's Attorney, where he was chief of the Multi-Jurisdictional Narcotics Prosecution Unit, and a chief felony prosecutor. In 2000, Tomczak was elected as the Will County State's Attorney, where he was twice awarded Illinois State Crime Commission's State's Attorney of the Year, and also was awarded statewide chairman of the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists in 2004. Jeff's married to Circuit Court Judge Amy Bertani Tomczak, who hears felony cases now in Will County, and is father of twin girls, Lena and Rose. Lena, right?
Yes.
Lena it is. Jeff is a personal injury and a criminal law practitioner in Joliet and Chicago. Now, our call-in guests are going to be Massad Ayoob, who is an internationally known firearms and self-defense instructor. He's taught police techniques and civilian self-defense to both law enforcement officers and private citizens in numerous venues since 1974. I've taken classes with Mass. He's an amazing guy. He was director of the Lethal Force Institute in Concord, New Hampshire from 1981 to 2009, and now he's directs the Massad Ayoob Group. Ayoob has appeared as expert witness in several trials. He served as a part-time police officer in New Hampshire since 1972, where he holds the rank of captain in Grantham, New Hampshire Police Department. And the final person, certainly not last or least, but Senator Ed Petka was the Will County State's Attorney for 10 years, hired everybody around here, In fact, don't you call him? You still call him boss?
I can't call him anything else. He's always going to be the boss.
You still call him boss. Senator Petka served 20 years in the General Assembly, 6 as a state rep, 14 as a senator, and served as chief deputy Republican leader for 6 years and majority whip for 6 years in the Senate. Senator Petka also served as a circuit court judge until he retired in 2009. Senator Petka sponsored a number of right-to-carry bills in Springfield and received the Defender of Freedom Award from the NRA for sponsoring legislation that allowed homeowners to possess a firearm in their homes for self-defense in communities that banned gun ownership under home rule. Senator Petka has been married to Phyllis Petka for 42 years, a lovely lady, and they have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. And so, welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dave. Glad to be here with you.
We are very happy to have you both here. I would like to start out with a very simple, I think, when it comes to law, no question is simple. But a fairly simple question. What actually justifies the use of lethal force?
My research shows this. There are 3 areas in Illinois law right now that justify the use of lethal force. It would be only 3. The first would be self-defense. The second would be defense of others. And the third would be defense of your dwelling. And self-defense, as we all know, goes back, it's the law of self-preservation. It goes back that far. So that's where self-defense begins. And I believe those would be the 3 legally sufficient areas where you could use lethal force. Now,
in Illinois, to possess a firearm, you have to have a FOID card, correct?
That's correct.
So what if someone is in a home, and I we don't want to get down deep into law, but if a spouse who doesn't have a FOID card is in a home, the husband does have a FOID card, not in the house, there's an intruder, is she up the creek without a paddle? She doesn't have a FOID card, but she wants to defend her life.
Well, I actually had a case like that many years ago where a husband had left home, gone to work. 2 men committed a home invasion, kicked in the door, and rushed toward her. She was able. The husband had left a revolver out for her, in the unlikely chance it would ever happen, and of course that's what happened that evening. And she was able to secure the revolver and open fire. They were seen heading southbound at a high rate of speed as she emptied the revolver toward their direction. Long and short of it is, obviously, she did not have a FOID card. That was not the issue at that moment in time. We encourage everybody to be within the law in these matters, but when it's a matter of direct threat to life, as existed that night, I do not see a prosecutor seeking to bring charges under those conditions.
Well, the key component there was Jeff said he had a case, and that meant that some prosecutor somewhere decided that that was appropriate to file those charges. And I'm here to let everyone know probably the most important vote you're going to take if you're a Second Amendment person is to think about who your prosecuting attorney is going to be, learn about it. If that individual doesn't know who the ISRA is, you got to think twice about it, because this is a perfect example of a circumstance where a gung-ho prosecutor eagerly going after cases like that could overzealously file charges to a lady who didn't deserve to be in court in the first place.
Well, allow me to clarify, though. When I say I had a case, actually, she was never charged.
Good.
It was a matter that came to our attention, and actually we went out and we spoke with her and supported her through this whole ordeal. Of course, it's very shocking for her. But the point is well made that, just because the letter of the law is written on a sheet of paper, there's always going to be discretion in the matter in which it's enforced. And, this is a key component that we have to look at.
And truly, as far as it being a prosecutor, I've had occasion to be both in the complaint office, which is where I think we both started as prosecutors, and then at the head of the office. You've got to think about policies. You've got to think about where you want people to go and where you want to file your charges, where you want to use your court time. And discretion is everything. Discretion begins with information. It begins with being informed. And if you do not have a prosecutor who's informed about gun rights, how they're used, you're not going to have the proper use of discretion.
You're listening to AM 560 WIND. This is On Target Radio, and we're talking to our guests, are Jeff Tomczak and Jeff Chudwin. Jeff Tomczak, prosecutors have discretion as to what they prosecute, do they not?
Absolutely. When you file charges, you have to have a duty to make sure that you have a likelihood of success on the merits and there's probable cause to proceed. And you use your discretion. I understand right now, Senator Petka mentioned to me earlier, there's a state's attorney in Illinois who has decided that he is not going to prosecute UUW cases any longer.
That is, it's not Livingston.
McLean County.
McLean County, yeah.
There you go. That's discretion. And when you are the only state in the United States that does not have that law, and you've got people driving through our states from both sides, coming both ways, one has to wonder, is that the appropriate use of discretion? That's an example of him using his discretion.
See, now the interesting thing, people have said to me, well, he's violating the law. There's a law that says you have to do this in the state of Illinois, and for him to ignore it, then he's violating the law. But, I mean, how does that gel out?
He's constitutionally using his discretion, and that's exactly what he's entitled to do as the state's attorney. And I think what complicates the situation right now is we are so far behind the other states. And a big issue right now is people coming into this state with concealed carry permits from other states. And would you know if you happen to be passing through the only state in the union that doesn't have that law, and then you get charged with it? I had a case, for example, where a guy, he desperately did not want to get rid of his weapons, but he had to. He lost his job. Informant luring him over the state line. Come on to Illinois. He says, no, I want to stay in Indiana. Let's do it over in Indiana. No, come on over. As soon as he crossed the lines, guess what? Gun
Bingo.
running charge. You got it. He got gun running charges. Yeah. The difference in our state laws is so important.
Okay, and I think the important thing to remember is you can still be arrested. You can still get booked and go to jail. So that's something you want to avoid in general. Well, we're going to be right back after these few messages with On Target Radio.
The latest traffic every 15 minutes from the PropertyTax.com Traffic Center.
We got a crash on the inbound Stevenson now. The crash blocks the two right lanes right at LaGrange, and you're jammed from the Tri-State to LaGrange. Travel time 40 minutes in from 355, 30 from the Tri-State. Outbound, everyone has to slow down to have a look at it. Delays there start at Harlem, go to LaGrange, scene of the accident in the opposite direction. 35 minutes to the Tri-State, 45 out to 355. No delays at all on the Edens, Kennedy, and Ike. It's a quick trip on the outbound Dan Ryan. Inbound, okay, a little bit sluggish getting into the downtown area around that Roosevelt curve to about the Circle interchange. Still just a minute delay, 16 minutes. Moving well on I-57, the Bishop Ford, I-80, and your Illinois tollways. There's a chance of rain tonight with a low 45. Sunny tomorrow, high 57. It's 52 degrees. Next update in 15 minutes on AM 560 WIND.
This is the plan.
The Steve Cochran Show.
What's next door? Wisconsin. What's next door? Iowa. 2 swing states. Got some free time? Get in the car, drive over the border, go to a tavern, have a couple of beers, strike up a conversation with a local, and when you find somebody, when you're talking about politics, that says they're still supporting President Obama, politely and firmly ask them why.
Steve Cochran, weekdays at 5, right after Michael Medved on AM 560 WIND.
Attention firearm owners or those considering exercising your Second Amendment rights. I want to tell you about Illinois Gun Works. From void services and new firearm purchases to gunsmith services and an indoor shooting range, Don and his staff will assist you without attitude or pressure. Need training? Illinois Gun Works' popular Illinois Responsible Firearm Owners class teaches you the regulations to legally defend yourself, own, and transport your firearm. There's a required class for a Chicago firearm permit and popular new shooter familiarization class, including one for women. Now, I took this class and urge you to reserve your spot fast for this fun class. Illinois Gun Works offers a wide selection of training and certification classes, from security work to those just considering ownership, even special group classes. Illinois Gun Works, Chicagoland's full-service firearm headquarters, is located on Grand Avenue, just a block west of Harlem in Elmwood Park. Call 708-452-0040 or visit IllinoisGunWorks.com. That's 708-452-0040.
A doctor from the Midwest has developed a highly unusual investment approach capable of generating thousands of dollars at a time without touching stocks or any other conventional investments. Ordinary people across the country are using this doctor's approach themselves with incredible results.
I made $18,665 in about 7 days. I made $23,000 in 2 months.
The retired doctor who developed this unique approach has found a way to use it online from any brokerage account and get paid in just 60 seconds every single time. He himself makes enough money doing this to pay for almost all his expenses each month. But now, for a brief time only, he's doing something that could have a huge impact on your wealth. So listen carefully. He posted a free video online detailing his approach and how to use it yourself. So watch it today by going to retirementtrader6.com. The video is free to watch and will start playing as soon as you visit retirementtrader6.com. That's www.retirementtrader6.com.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio, and it is that magic moment we've all been waiting with bated breath. The Illinois State Rifle Association presents Tim's Tip of the Week.
This week's tip was suggested by Stephen, one of our Facebook crew, and concerns shooting range etiquette. First, always follow the basic rules of firearm safety. Always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction, keep your gun unloaded until ready to shoot, and don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot it. Nothing unnerves the guy a few targets down from you like glancing your way and seeing a muzzle waving around in their general direction. Remember, anyone on the line can call a ceasefire for any reason. If you hear ceasefire, unload, lay your gun on the bench, point it down range, and back away from it. Once a ceasefire has been called, do not touch your firearm again until the range is once more declared hot, either by a mutual decision of everyone on the line or, if one is present, the command of the range officer. If you're on a range where you have to walk down to the impact area to change a target, and on your way back you see someone touching or moving their gun, first you have a moment of, what the heck, and then you want to go talk to the guy. You don't want to be that guy. Speaking of talking, don't try to talk to other shooters when they're in the act of firing. If they have a gun you've never seen before or you're looking for a pointer, wait until they have finished shooting and have benched their firearm. Most shooters really enjoy talking to others about the sport. However, most shooters, when at the firing line, don't want to listen to people drone on and on about some topic or people that aren't directly related to what they're there to do on the range, which is shoot, especially at a range that charges by the hour. And please remember, if you see anyone you feel is unsafe, tell the range master. If you're at indoor range, tell the desk. But always, always remember, if all else fails, it isn't worth taking a chance standing within shooting distance of a bonehead. Call it a day. Go home. This has been your Tip of the Week, sponsored by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the use of firearms for sport, for personal protection, and as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815-635-3198. That's 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association, supporting you. And now we have on the line Senator Ed Petka. Senator Petka, are you there?
Yes, I am, David. Good evening.
Senator, it has been probably 4 or 5 years since I've seen you. Are you and Phyllis doing well?
We are. And thanks for asking, Dave.
Please give her my best wishes.
I will.
We have someone who on Facebook asked the question, and it's Dean said, without castle doctrine laws, what can an Illinois resident expect with regards to legal protections during a lethal force incident at home or in their place of business? Now, Tim and I teach a seminar called Home Protection and Concealed Carry, and a question that always comes up is, if someone breaks into my home, can I just shoot him? Isn't my home my castle? What is the answer to that?
For a long time, David, I've given the same answer, and it's still the law in the state of Illinois. And that is that any person who is attempting to enter your home in a violent and tumultuous manner, that if you reasonably believe that the person who is entering that home to do harm to you or a member of your family or anyone who may be in your home, you have the unquestioned right to defeat that attack by the use of deadly force.
Now, we have Kevin on the phone from Addison. And Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you have a question about trespassers. What exactly is your question?
My question is, if I if there's on my property and I was to go out and see what they're doing or whatever the deal is, and I was to have a firearm, if I have the firearm down at my side, or what's the deal with that? I mean, is there a law when it comes to pointing the firearm at them outside the home, or if I have it down on the side of my leg? I mean, is there something with that?
The bottom line on that is going to be you have to use the force that's necessary to terminate the trespass. So, I mean, probably at first it would be, hey, buddy, get off of here. What are you doing on my property? Get off of there. But before you might want to show a firearm. If that doesn't work, you go to the next level. I mean, you do have the right to utilize the force necessary to terminate the trespass. There's an old case out there. It's actually from 1956 where it was a farmer. They were stealing his hay that he had baled, and he did point a gun at him and tell him to drop the hay and get off of my property. And he was ultimately charged with aggravated assault. The court in that case, Supreme Court, actually did find that he was proper in that particular action. Each case is its own thing, though, and I want to tell you, be very careful. There isn't any definite standards on these, and I think Chief Chudwin earlier was talking about something similar to this.
If you'll allow me first, Senator Petka, I'd like to just say hello, boss, and
Same
welcome
to me. Same here, boss.
You gave us our start, and we'll never forget that. We really appreciate it. And my just a brief comment also is we've had cases like this over the years, and I would always caution all of our citizens, anytime you see a trespass taking place, the most important thing to do if you see illegal conduct is first dial 911, get the sheriff or get the police department on their way. Do not go out with a firearm. When you go out with a firearm, all types of issues arise that are unanticipated. It's best to use restraint. And in those cases where somebody's not there with the specific intent that you could see at that moment in time to do you harm, I would urge you and caution you not to go out there and create a confrontation where the firearm's present, because I've seen this turned around on the homeowner, and then the person, it's your word against them, and the person holding the gun may well be arrested.
Well, and there's a compounding problem here, because in the city of Chicago, they specifically say, and I think it's an ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, but they specifically say you can only have a firearm for personal protection inside the home, not in the front porch, back porch, in the yard, or the garage.
Is a state law that regulates municipal ordinances, believe it or not. 524-10 says that if you have to defend yourself or defense of another, you cannot be charged with an ordinance violation if you properly use it in self-defense. So somebody down in our legislature, probably the guy on the line right now, had something to do with getting that law in the books.
That's interesting. So are you saying that the Chicago ordinance is vulnerable?
Here's what it says. It's an affirmative defense to a violation of a municipal ordinance that prohibits, regulates, or restricts the private ownership of firearms if the individual who is charged with the violation used the firearm in an act of self-defense or defense of another. Now, I know Senator Petka had a lot to do with getting that legislation passed, but that is the state of the law in Illinois right now.
And Senator Petka, this applies to use of force against an individual, correct? If it's just property, if somebody's trying to steal the motorcycle out of my garage and is not threatening me personally, I can't use lethal force, can I?
You really should not. Mr. Tomczak was correct. I sponsored that legislation.
How did I know?
Because he's your boss.
It passed and was signed into law, and it basically says this, that even though we have so-called gun ban ordinances in a number of communities, that in those circumstances where people keep firearms in their home because they are sane and they understand that there are some very bad people on the planet, if someone comes busting into their home and they use a firearm, that they have a right to use this statute as an affirmative defense. In other words, they can still be charged, but they can affirmatively defend themselves by making the claim that they were in protection of they're protecting either themselves or someone else within their home. In other words, within their curtilage. So, that being the case, they have the right to use force, deadly force if necessary, even in communities that ban the possession of firearms. And I might add, I believe that all of those communities are now violating the United States Constitution. The Supreme Court has held that the possession of a firearm under Heller is a inviolate Second Amendment constitutional right, that it's an individual right, and that the government at any level really cannot infringe upon that right.
You're listening to AM 560 WIND Radio. This is On Target Radio. One quick question, Jeff Tomczak. When is the time to know an attorney? You got 30 seconds. Does a gun owner want to know you now?
Yes. I mean, under ordinary circumstances, are you going to need an attorney 24 hours a day? No. But it's good to know a good quality attorney. Make sure it's somebody who really knows their way around the courthouse, not somebody who occasionally appears, somebody who specializes in the area of criminal law. But yeah, the most important time, as the chief will tell you, is right at the time the stuff is happening, to be properly advised of your rights, invoke your Sixth Amendment right to counsel, make the right decisions early on. So it is important to know a lawyer early on. I mean, most of us have 24-hour hotlines. I do at the law firm. So
I know when we teach the home protection concealed carry, we always tell people, be respectful of the cop when he arrives.
Absolutely.
You know, that's a key thing. Don't be a jerk, but just say, I'm shaken. I need to talk to my attorney. I want to help you, but...
Well, we always say blame us. Blame the attorney. We'll take the heat for it.
Okay, we're going to be right back with more On Target Radio in just a couple minutes.
The battle lines are drawn. Both sides are firing. The battle to win you over to their side has never been waged more fiercely. This time, more than ever, every single vote counts. This radio station wants you to be the difference. That's why we have created a website to make sure you are registered to vote and to help you get your friends registered. VoteTheChange.com. Go there now and join this fight. VoteTheChange.com. This time, you are the answer. AM 560 WIND.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler.
It has been a great privilege to have had a voice for the last 30 years in the great decisions of our day.
Former Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter, a moderate Republican who switched parties in 2009, dead of cancer at 82.
He was willing to stand up for what was right when people in America needed it. That economic stimulus bill, what he did for that, knowing that it was going to damage his career. But he said it didn't matter.
Democratic Congressman Joe Sestak, who defeated Specter in the 2010 Senate primary.
Little GTO.
Singer-keyboardist B.B. Cunningham Jr., who had that hit with Ronnie and the Daytonas in the 60s and was a member of Jerry Lee Lewis's band, killed in a shootout at a Memphis apartment complex where he was working as a security guard. He went to investigate a gunshot. Fox News, we report, you decide.
The latest traffic every 15 minutes from the PropertyTax.com Traffic Center.
Good evening. I'm Laura Vaughn. We got some problems on the inbound Kennedy. There's a crash at Division. A light pole is down, and the 3 right lanes are blocked. Of course, that's going to cause a delay. Delays start just past Diversity. It would be so much worse during a rush hour. 24 in from O'Hare, 14 from the junction. Outbound is okay. 10 to the junction and 20 out to O'Hare. Inbound Stevenson, there's a crash in the 2 right lanes at LaGrange. You are jammed. I mean, bumper to bumper, almost stopped from the Tri-State to LaGrange. 40 minutes in from 355. 30 from the Tri-State. Outbound, it's curiosity delays. Everyone wants to see what's going on from Harlem to LaGrange. 35 to the Tri-State and 45 out to 355. All clear on your Edens and your Eisenhower. Dan Ryan, a little busy into downtown. There's a chance of rain tonight with a low 45. It's 52 degrees. Next update in 15 minutes on AM 560 WIND.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Conveniently located near the 142nd Street exit of the Bishop Ford Expressway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago firearms permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities.
I'm David Lombardo, president of Safer USA, Chicagoland's most popular firearm training school. We continue to offer our popular home protection and concealed carry seminar every month. This 8-hour seminar covers everything you need to know to safely and legally use a firearm for both concealed carry and home invasion, and qualifies you for Florida and Utah concealed carry permits good in about 30 states. Be sure to call and ask how we can help you raise funds for your organization or provide a guest speaker. We're also offering the NRA Basic Pistol Course and our Tactical Pistol 1 and 2. As always, I offer private one-on-one instruction for Basic Pistol, Chicago Firearm Certification, and Basic Home Defense. For further information, please call 877-954-3030 or go to saferusa.com. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching to own it responsibly is ours.
That's 877-954-3030 or SAFERUSA.com.
Hello?
Hi, is this Steve Bostic, president of Right Size Smoothies?
Yes, are you calling about the free 2-week trial?
Well, so I already got the free trial. In fact, I've lost a ton of weight with your smoothies.
Wow, that's great news.
But now I have a problem I never thought I'd have. I can't stop losing weight, but I don't want to stop drinking your smoothies. I love them.
Well, here's one thing you can do. Only drink one smoothie a day. That way you won't cut as many calories. And if you ever need to lose weight again, you can always drink more smoothies.
With delicious right-size smoothies, you'll love losing weight. So to get you started, we're offering anyone who calls today a free 2-week trial of our powerful weight loss smoothies. You can even get free shipping. Call 1-800-600-9532. Try right-size smoothies free for 2 full weeks, and we'll also send you our best-selling blender bottle absolutely free. Call 1-800-600-9532. Ask how you can even get free shipping. That's 1-800-600-9532. 1-800-600-9532.
We now return to On Target on AM 560 WIND. If you have a question or opinion, the studio line is 312-642-5600. Now, here's your host, firearm expert and educator, David Lombardo.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We have a question that I wanted to ask Jeff Tomczak. Are there mitigating factors? Are there things like revenge, and how does that play into all of this?
Well, when you're dealing, if you're going to put a self-defense, affirmative defense on a trial, there's several things you've got to look for that are going to diminish your ability to put that defense on. For example, you can't claim it's an accident. If you're going to claim self-defense, well, you have to presume to the court that you did it. You can't say it was an accident or I didn't do it. If you flight, if you run after the crime occurred, well, there'll be no reason for you to run if you are acting in self-defense. Self-defense is not available to a forcible felon, an aggressor, an accomplice, an attempt forcible felon, and you cannot use it for revenge, provocation, or retaliation. Now, I'd like to, if I could, throw it over to the chief for a minute here, because retaliation becomes a very important part of self-defense. Somebody has done something to you, you've defended yourself, you're no longer in danger, and now what do? Chief?
Well, a couple different issues here. One, if you've overcome your aggressor and then you take the violence to a level that's beyond reasonable. If you then become the aggressor, so to speak, in your own form, you become liable for your actions in that respect. On the other hand, you're in your home. Somebody breaks into your home, and during the course of that home invasion, we'll call it, because it's a very separate issue than burglary. It's much more serious and violent. That person runs out the door and starts running down the street. One of the things we caution our homeowners, our citizens, is do not pursue them down the street. There's many issues that go beyond just what's written on the page in terms of the letter of law. There's the practical and what we'll call the tactical issues of this, of you being seen running down the street with a gun in your hand when police officers are arriving because your neighbor's calling for your assistance. Officers arriving on scene have no idea who you are, have no idea who the aggressors are. We know we've had these horrible situations over the years where officers have fired on other officers in plain clothes who weren't identifiable. So once again, this issue of restraint and reasonableness plays such a key role in this.
We're going to be on with Massad Ayoob in just about 30 seconds. But BFM Martial Arts put in our Facebook page, how does the Castle Doctrine affect the duty to retreat in Illinois? Illinois does not have duty to retreat, right?
That is correct. Illinois has no duty to retreat. In fact, our Supreme Court has said that you need not attempt an escape, but may lawfully stand, a person may lawfully stand their ground and meet force with force, even to the taking of the assailant's life. And that's People v. Horton, 1954, Illinois Supreme Court. Now, again, tactically, whether you're going to put yourself in that situation. But no, Illinois is one of the few states that does not have the retreat doctrine. And for everyone who wants to know what it is, in those states, you have to make every reasonable attempt to escape from the situation you're in before you may utilize reasonable or lethal force. That's the retreat doctrine.
Okay, and now we want to get over to Massad Ayoob. Mass, are you on?
I am. How are you doing, guys?
I've been doing fine, and I really appreciate you being on with us tonight. I hope your trip is going well.
Well, so far so good. Looks like you've assembled the first team. I'm honored to be among them.
Well, we're certainly honored to have you. I've taken your seminars, and you're certainly a leader in this field. I would like to get from you what is really your area of expertise. What is an appropriate firearm for home defense?
Well, it's going to depend entirely on the family. assuming you're not into the caveman thing where the alpha male will be the defender and everyone else will cringe behind him, the firearm, particularly if you have children at an age of responsibility, becomes a pool weapon in the sense that a shotgun or a patrol rifle in a police car might be in the hands of 3 different officers, or in a 2-man car, 6 different officers in 3 shifts in 24 hours. So you want to make certain it's a gun that every member of the household who is authorized to take up arms within the family defense plan can manage. One thing I see a lot with private citizens is the 6-foot, 200-pound alpha male of the household buys a 12-gauge pump gun, loads it with Magnum shells, and says, "Honey, kids, I've got the best gun there is, by golly, and now we'll take you out and teach you how to shoot it." The stock is too long for them. The recoil approaches that of an elephant gun. And everybody's so scared of the gun that if they ever actually need it, they're afraid to use it. A pool firearm that might be used by your mom, by your wife, by your teenage kid, needs to be something that the smallest, least physically capable, least skilled, and least trained member who's authorized to use it can handle effectively and accurate rapid fire. This means often the home defense shotgun might turn out to be a 20-gauge as a better option than the more powerful 12-gauge. It might turn out that the .223 caliber patrol rifle, with its very mild recoil and the typical adjustable length stock of the AR-15 platform, will better fit a height range that might well be between one member of the household who's 5 feet tall and another who's 6'6".
We've got just about 15 seconds in this segment. Is there such a thing as shooting to wound? And you got just a couple of seconds. Shooting to wound warning
there is,
shot.
But it's incredibly stupid. It's kind of like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. It happens, it exists, but it's incredibly stupid.
So that's not it's not really an appropriate tactic. When we teach a seminar, we tell people that if you pull the trigger on a firearm, you are in fact using lethal force. It's a lethal weapon, and the concept of shooting to wound doesn't make sense.
What you're teaching is correct.
Okay, we are
shoot to stop, not to wound, not to kill. We shoot to stop.
Exactly, in defense of life. Coming right back after these few messages on Target Radio, AM 560 WIND.
The latest traffic every 15 minutes from the PropertyTax.com Traffic Center.
Good evening, I'm Laura Vaughn. We have big problems on your inbound Kennedy and on the Stevenson. I'm going to start with the Stevenson because travel times are worse. Inbound, you're jammed from the Tri-State to LaGrange with a crash blocking the 2 right lanes and the entrance ramp. 40 minutes in from 355, 30 minutes from the Tri-State. Outbound, everyone's having a look at it, and you're on the brakes from Harlem to LaGrange. 46 to the Tri-State and 56 after 355. We have reports of an additional crash at Cass. If you're inbound on the Kennedy, it's not a good place to be. There's a crash at Division with a light pole down. 3 right lanes are blocked with that, and so is the entrance ramp. Delays start just past Diversey. 24 in from O'Hare, 14 from the Junction. Outbound is okay. There's a chance of rain tonight with a low of 45. It's 52 degrees. Next update in 15 minutes on AM 560 WIND.
For 35 years, Pelcher's Shooter's Supply has served the Lansing area. Pelcher's offers new and used firearms sales, appraisals, and gunsmithing service. Pelcher's new spacious showroom has hundreds of major brand firearms and supplies, and PelcherGuns.com features daily specials. Pelcher's Shooter's Supply on the corner of Ridge Road and Henry Street in downtown Lansing. Online at PelcherGuns.com or call 708-474-0662.
For the first time in our history, America's credit rating has been downgraded, and AMAC has an answer to that news. Never again. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the conservative alternative to the AARP. AMAC cares about the issues conservatives care about. If you're 50 or older, help us get to 1 million members by the 2012 elections. Join AMAC now. Go to tearupyourcar.com or call 800-255-4199, 800-255-4199, or go to tearupyourcar.com.
The following is a free offer from Rosetta Stone.
Anyone that I talk to about learning a language, I tell them there's just no other way to do it than Rosetta Stone.
I took Spanish in high school, and it was a miserable failure. 20 years later, I saw the Rosetta Stone program.
And it was pretty fun.
You are seeing the language, you are writing the language, you are speaking it.
Real users agree. Rosetta Stone is the fastest way to learn a language, guaranteed. And to prove it, we want you to be a part of our biggest language learning event in history. Because in 2012, we want to help 3 million people learn a new language. That's why we're going to give you an absolutely free demo of our language immersion technology. To participate in this nationwide event, call 1-800-400-0690.
Rosetta Stone is, in my opinion, the ultimate method, the only method there is to learn a language.
For your free demo, call 1-800-400-0690. That's 1-800-400-0690.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We have George calling from Orland Park. George, you are asking if you can shoot somebody outside and drag them into your home. Is that it?
Yeah, what I told the screener was that I always hear that from a lot of my students, and there's that myth that, you know, even if he's outside, I'll shoot him, I'll bring him in, and, you know, you can get away with it. I just wanted to...
you weren't suggesting that's what you would do. You were suggesting people think that.
People think that a lot. Correct. I wouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is I would like the legal guys out there that you have on your panel to really, you know, stress that is a myth, and for people not even to think about doing that. Because I tell you, I at least hear it once a week during one of my classes. I hear someone, you know, mention that, I'll just drag them inside your house. Now you're covered. And,
Jeff Tomczak, you want to answer it in one word?
I can hear the handcuffs clicking. Nope, I wouldn't go that route. What do you say, Chief?
Yeah, we don't want to do that, George.
First of all, the evidence would clearly indicate that the scene had been, you know, disturbed, brought inside. It would show collusion, cover-up. It would be all the things that would be working against you, and it's absolutely untrue. Anybody who were to do that would subject themselves to criminal charges. It would be absolutely the wrong thing to do.
Thanks for calling in, George. We have Jim in Elgin. Jimmy, there?
Yes, good evening.
Okay.
I miss the old days of going out on the farm and do some pheasant, rabbit hunting, and didn't have to worry about all the gun laws.
Well, you got to worry about them now. So
yeah, because I remember the first one I shot was an old Remington 5.14 single shot. That was the first weapon I ever fired.
So
I was curious. There was a law down in Texas down there. They said you must, you know, for your license to carry a handgun. Well, the way they word this is kind of funny here. It's illegal to carry one except at home, in your place of business, on your own property, when traveling, or for hunting and fishing or sport. That's kind of the way they word that. It's kind of like, really, you can just carry it anywhere.
You're talking Texas law?
Yeah. I was curious, you know, the way they word that, it's like they're letting you carry this, but they're going to make it look good for the, you know, a feel-good law. That's when Illinois told us something like that.
Well, I think transportation of firearms, guys, is the number one thing that we should concentrate on. And I'd like to turn it over to the chief here real quick on transportation, if there's anything that needs to be added on that part. I mean, because transportation is a big deal as far as getting charges on a person.
Well, a simple fact is that in Illinois, firearms need to be cased and unloaded. They cannot have ammunition that is in the mag. You can't have magazines locked in handguns, cylinders full with ammunition. Obviously, there's a slight variation on the magazine being next to the weapon, whether it has to be in the case or out. The whole point in this is you don't want to be the individual who sets case law. And once again, be reasonable within the state law, whether we like it or not. And I'm not saying that's my position. I'm simply saying that if you want to be legal in your transportation of firearms, separate your ammunition and your firearm. Keep the firearm in a case.
You're listening to AM 560 WIND. This is On Target Radio. Mass, are you still with us?
I am.
Mass, tricking out a gun, is there an issue using for personal protection a gun that's been tricked out, it's had trigger job, compensator, all that kind of stuff? Is that good or bad?
Can be. Basically, what you've got to look at is if you have an unmeritorious lawsuit or the rare but existing political motivated prosecution. They've got to have some hook to hang their case on. The big thing you need to worry about there is safety devices that have been removed or deactivated, or what a layman would perceive as a hair trigger. They will try to introduce an element of negligence. As your other guest has explained earlier, an accident can never be justified. There's no such thing as a justifiable accident. If they want to hang you for something, they know it's going to be tough to convince a jury that a good, honest citizen would suddenly turn into Hannibal Lecter and commit murder. It's easy to convince a jury that any person for 1 second could be incredibly stupid, make a stupid mistake, and kill someone they had no right to kill. And that now becomes a classic formula for a manslaughter conviction. In the civil lawsuit, very few of your listeners are both so rich and so stupid that if I was to win $1 million judgment against them, they've got a liquid million available that I could seize to satisfy the judgment. So your unmeritorious plaintiff's lawyer is going to seek the deep pockets. No homeowner liability insurance is going to cover an intentional tort, a deliberate act that harmed another. What they are designed to cover is negligent mistakes. All they have to do is come up with a theory of the case that you negligently, accidentally discharged the gun when you were holding the burglar at gunpoint after he surrendered, and now they're into the deep pockets of the insurance company.
And you're up the creek without a paddle.
You are indeed. So I would recommend never carry a gun or use a gun for home defense that has a lighter trigger pull weight than the factory specifies for what's called in the trade duty use.
Okay, we got a quick one. Daryl, we got you on the line? Daryl from Chicago?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what was your question? We got about 15, 20 seconds.
Well, my question is, I'd really like to know who needs to have a Chicago firearms permit. Because, again, I do have handguns, but I don't keep them in the city. I keep them in a secure location. But I do have a rifle in the home. And I was talking with a neighbor of mine, and they told me that I needed to have a Chicago firearms permit. And my neighbor is also a Chicago police officer. So I'd like to have some clarification as to, what's the truth.
I don't believe the definition of firearms accepts rifles and pistols. I think they're the same thing. So you probably would need to get that permit if you're going to have the rifle in the house.
Now, we know for a fact Chicago ordinance allows, if you go through the 5-hour training program, which I'll sneak in, we provide, but if you go through the 5-hour training program, that person may have one firearm loaded and accessible in your home for personal defense. If there's two of you, like you're married, and your spouse goes through the program, that spouse can have one also, but that's it. We're going to be right back after a few messages. You're listening to AM 560 WIND Radio, and this is On Target Radio. Tim, say goodbye for this segment.
Goodbye for this segment.
That's it.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Conveniently located near the 142nd Street exit of the Bishop Ford Expressway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago firearms permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities.
This is the event that you'll be talking about for years to come. You'll want to say you were there. It's history in the making as the entire AM 560 WIND lineup takes to the stage on the same night in the same city. AM 560 and ChampionNews.net are proud to present one night only. November 3rd at the Aku Theater in Rosemont. It's Glenn Beck.
Dream about what we're going to become.
Dennis Miller.
We have turned into a mincing, politically correct Leviathan.
Michael Medved.
The only legitimate purpose for government is to protect the rights of the citizens.
John Howell. Amy Jacobson. Steve Cochran. Hugh Hewitt. Dennis Prager. And Mike Gallagher. Together for the first and only time. Just days before the presidential election. It's a night of commentary, comedy, and a celebration of the power and passion of radio. Tickets available now at 560WIND.com. Search for the keyword night. Sponsored in part by AmericanEagle.com. You're listening to On Target on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back. More On Target Radio. And our guests are Jeff Tomczak, Jeff Chudwin. Senator Ed Petka is off the line now, but Massad Ayoob is still on. What about training? Is that an issue? People have the belief you just buy a gun, stick it in your drawer, you're good to go.
Well, Dave, this is the area that I want to focus on, so intently. Massad Ayoob, nationally, internationally known. We've got you locally and others who put on great classes. Anybody who intends to get a firearm for personal safety and self-defense, first thing you need to do is get the training to understand what is the law, so you understand what are the ground rules for the use of this firearm. It should ever come to that. Second part is just the practical aspects of how do I use it, how do I handle it, how to keep my family safe, because firearms obviously pose both a risk to the aggressor, but they're also left around the house. If they're left unattended, there's that whole issue about, Mass is talking about negligence. Well, it's negligent to leave a loaded firearm laying around your house. These are the things you cover in your classes, and this is where individuals who want to learn about this need to get to immediately.
And the classes are equally important because we have to remember the gun laws, there's no signs like a speed limit sign on the side of the road there that says what you're supposed to do with these things. Classes are the key to knowing the law to keep yourself out of court.
One of the things that I tell people about this issue is it's a three-legged stool. One leg is you have to have the proper equipment and know how to use it. The second leg is you have to know what the law is and how the courts have historically interpreted that law. And then the third thing is the tactical aspect. Like we talked earlier, Jeff went on Jeff too. We don't go hunting in our house. People say, well, I know my house like the back of my hand. That's not the point. The point is in the middle of the night, where's a guy hiding that he can get you as you walk by and you never even know it?
And that's clearly one of the issues that we teach is that is to have, so to speak, a safe room, your bedroom, the other locations where you hold yourself in that position, arm yourself as needed, get 911 on the phone, get the police responding. But like you make that great point, you don't move out into your home seeking the person who's hiding in your home. It makes no sense. It's counterproductive.
I want to, we've only got about a minute left. Mass, are you still on?
I am.
Are you going to be back in Chicago with your seminar? I mean, I think that's a terrific seminar, but you've only got about 15 seconds here.
Sure, I'll be back in 2013. Anybody interested can look it up at MassadAyoobGroup.com.
And that seminar is called?
In Aurora. It's the MAG 20 course classroom. It's basically the rules of engagement for the armed citizen.
When I was there, everybody brought a laptop and everyone was taking notes for 2 days. It was astounding. Okay, so that kind of brings us to the end of the day. I'd like to thank our guests, Senator Ed Petka, Massad Ayoob, thank you for calling. Jeff Tomczak, Jeff Chudwin, thank you. Thanks to Robin Zeeland, our call screener, and George Hoffman on the board. As always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Illinois Gun Works, Chuck's Gun Shop, Pelcher's Shooters Supply, Illinois State Rifle Association, our website developer, 31 Moons, and Safer USA. Next week, our guests are going to be Dave Carlson, who's running for Will County State's Attorney, and Lori Yokoyama, who is running for, get this, Cook County State's Attorney, where we really, really need it. So we'll be talking about elections have consequences.
An excellent show for Mr. Emanuel to call in on. So
exactly, and I want to point out that we invited people to come and debate on this issue on this show, and it apparently was not high on the priority list.
We are north of I-80.
Well, I just, and to be very honest with you, particularly in Cook County, draconian gun laws. I mean, I don't know a better way to, with the newest thing that they're talking about, a violence tax on buying ammunition and stuff. Cook County's just, I'm sorry, it's nutso. So Lori Yokoyama is going to be on. We certainly are wishing her the very best in her endeavors. So we hope that you're going to be back and listen to us next Sunday at 9 p.m. And from Tim and I, thanks for listening. For more On Target Radio, and thanks, Mike, for making it all possible.